The question for everybody should be, how do I get from yellow to green? We developed a tool called the Skill Development Plan. And it's about as complicated as it looks. It's 5 columns. The 6th column could be a status column if you wanted to add that in. And the notion behind this is that I don't even know what I don't know when I'm marked yellow. That diesel systems engineer I mentioned at the beginning of the show, he didn't even know what he didn't know. He knew that they wanted him to be the diesel systems engineer. He knew that there was a guy who came in on weekends who was the diesel systems engineer for about 30 years. He knew there were some qual cards. He knew there were a few procedures. He knew there was some training, but he didn't know what he was supposed to do. Right? What do you do? And that's where the rubber hits the road. The thing I do is not to take a class. The thing I do is not to read a procedure necessarily. I have to do a whole bunch of stuff to take care of this system. What do I need to do? So we literally make a list of everything you have to know how to do. In the case of the diesel systems engineer, I called the guy on his boat and I asked him, what do you do? He said, what do you mean what do I do? And then he spent a half an hour arguing with me, thought my process was stupid and would never work and blah, 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 blah. That's okay. We expect that. We wait it out. And then we ask him, do you write anything? Well, yeah, I have to write that quarterly report. I have to write the notes up after the info inspection. I have to write, he made a long list. Do you read anything? Well, yeah, I have to read the procedure. I have to read all those manuals for all of the products that we order and that we use and supply our systems. I have to read the regulations that are associated with this, et cetera. Do you go to any meetings? Well, hell yeah, I have to. Well, do you lead those meetings or do you attend those meetings? Big difference, right? Do you have to build any relationships? I don't like anybody. Why would I build relationships? Yeah, but like vendors, do they show up and you have to, oh, well, yeah, I guess that's true. So yeah, we make a list of the relationships. But do you conduct any walkdowns? Well, duh, of course. Do you have any da-da-da-da-da-da-da? So all we do is ask him, what do you do? And it turned out that there were about 97 things, tasks, skills that he had that made him the diesel systems engineer go-to guy. And when we got done with this, and by the way, it took a couple hours. His phone battery would go dead. So we'd have to call back tomorrow. But other than that, it was not a big deal. Just like I just said, do you do this? Do you do this? What do you do? When do you do? What do you do at the beginning? What do you do on Mondays? What do you do when a surprise inspection happens? What do you do? And we made the list. 97 things, not a big deal. So now I give to this 20-something, this Gen Y guy that we think is a whiner, that we think doesn't want to work hard, doesn't want to pay his dues. And we say to him, look, you can get in the game as deep as you want. You can take on real work right now if you can learn how to do these 97 things. And guess what he did? He took the list and he goes, is that my job? Right? The first time he ever really understood what his job was. And then he said, which one do I do first? So we filled out the sequence column, column 2. You can't do all of it at once. All of it's not equally important, and there's all stuff going on, like your expert, your mentor will come up on weekends, and he's got something happening right now that you should learn from, so let's work on those. So the 37th through 45th line would be the first things you're gonna learn. Okay, then we put him on a plane to the Midwest somewhere for formal training. While you're there, learn how to do this, 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 and this. There's somebody visiting from another plant who will hang out with you. While he's here, do this, 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 and this. So the sequence column is completely customized to the individual. We're telling their story and helping them build their set of tools. All right. The dates are the date by which I want you to pass the test. I'll talk about the test in a second. And the resource column is where you put everything you already have in support of these tasks and skills. So if you have formal training, if you have a qual card, if you have an industry conference that they need to go to, anything like that you have, you're gonna inventory that and drop it into the resource column. You're also not gonna put in stuff that's not useful. So you're gonna help sort. Now what you've just done for that 20-something engineer is you've given him a roadmap to being successful. You're saying to him, if you learn how to do this, using these resources, can answer these questions by this date, you win. And so now you have a person who wants to be self-directed and self-motivated, wants to move as fast as possible with a plan to do it that's not dependent upon anybody else. It's really them chasing the knowledge and then proving that they've learned it so that they can go to work.